I'm sitting inside my 1983 380 SL convertible, and I'm contemplating a little problem I'm having, and that problem is every once in a while this key sticks. And you know, sometimes it turns okay, but sometimes I put it in the ignition switch and it just kind of have to wiggle a little bit, and then I can get it to turn on. And you might be contemplating the same problem with your old Benz. And I predict this is going to become a much bigger problem because a lot of these parts related to the tumbler and steering lock assemblies are no longer available. You know, in the past, you could probably go buy a new tumbler assembly like you see here and just install it, and it might solve the problem. You know, you've got a worn key, you've got worn pins inside the tumbler, and this type of replacement was fairly easy and fairly inexpensive. But about 2 or 3 years ago, these tumblers became unavailable worldwide. Literally, can't get a new tumbler. And we were able to get steering locks. We still have a few R107 and W116 new steering locks with a tumbler installed. And you're asking, well, Kent, you just told us that the tumblers were gone. They were. We had to come in and remachine inside this original new steering lock for the R107s and the W116s so that we could install a newer style tumbler. And it required a milling machine to do this. So we still have a few of these available, new, complete. But pretty soon they're going to be gone too because we can no longer get the steering lock. Not only can we not get tumblers for the 107 and 116, but the steering locks are gone worldwide, and so are the steering locks for the W123. They're gone worldwide as well. So what are we going to do about this? Fortunately for me and my 107, I have a brand new unit here that I'm going to install in Jerry. So my problem's solved. But we only have about 10 more of these units, and when they're gone, we won't have any available for any of our customers. This could become a real problem. Now let's talk about the W123 and the W126, particularly the diesels, and some of the problems they're having because they're driven so much and there's so many of them out there and the keys have been turned so much. So here's a couple that I've taken out of W123s and early W126 300 SDs. Now here's a problem that is occurring. It starts out with a key that wants to stick, okay? And if you wiggle it around, let's see, we'll flip it over. Okay, this one has failed. And when they fail, they are very difficult to get out of the car because you need to be able to turn the key on to not only get the cap off, but on some models you need to turn the key on to get the plug or the wiring plug off the back of the ignition switch. So if you're in a situation like this, you have what we call a big wrench dance. Now, you saw I just got it turned on. If you can get it to turn on like that, do not turn it off again, okay? You want to get my manual on how to get these steering locks out of your car, and then we're going to talk about how in the world you're going to fix it. But once you get the key to turn on, go unhook the battery and don't turn it off again until you get it out of the car. Now this one here, watch this. When I put it in, it catches. But once again, if I shake and wiggle it, oh man. Oh shoot, I had this one turning and I turned it off. I shouldn't have done that. I should have followed my own advice here. Okay, that one's stuck. We'll have to deal with that one later. I've got one here that shows you that unless you can turn the key on, you can't pull the plug off because there's a special lock inside the older switches. Now, if you've recently replaced the electrical switch, they did away with that little locking tab. And we're going to go over that in a future video when I really get into how to remove these from a steering lock assembly in a car when you cannot turn the key or when the key is broken. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. So 2 weeks ago, I told Kai, I says, we have to provide a way to help our customers out. And the only solution is to refurbish or rebuild these because they're no longer available new. And I really didn't want to do this. I did not want to offer a rebuilding service. We're so busy around here anyway, but I decided, okay, we're going to try it. So we'll start out with the W123 and the early W126 first and see how it goes. The customer has to remove this from their car, and they have to be able to turn the key. If they can't turn the key, we can't rebuild them at this time, and I'll explain more about that in a future video. Today is kind of a unique day here. We have the first steering lock assembly that has been shipped in from a customer wanting us to rebuild this. Now what we do is we take it all apart, we go into the steering lock assembly, we install a new tumbler, make sure that's working properly, and then ship it back to the customer. Now if they're not rebuildable, of course, we don't charge anything and we can ship it back. I would say in most cases they can be rebuilt if you can turn the key. Now watch this one that just arrived yesterday. Put the key in, you know, it's kind of sticky, but listen to the noise. I'm going to get it close to my microphone. And when you try to push the key in, look, it doesn't go in easily. See that? And it's very notchy when it goes in. And when you turn it, you can hear all that noise in the lock. So this customer was smart enough to deal with this before it jammed, because if you can't turn it, you're going to have a real hard time getting it out of your car. And I plan to do a whole series of videos on this problem that'll be available on my website on how to get this out of a car when you cannot turn the key or the key is broken off. But for the time being, if that's the situation, we can't rebuild it. We're only rebuilding those where you can still turn the key even though it's starting to stick. And if you send it to us, we can get this fixed for you and get it back to you in a few days. Now I still have a couple brand new ones for these diesels that I have here in the shop, but we're saving these for our own cars because we got quite a few old diesels around here. But I want to show you what these look like and what they sound like and how they work when we've gone through them. You can't believe over the last 5 years all the problems that we've had with quality control. When we get a new steering lock, we have to go completely through it. When we get a new tumbler, we have to go completely through it. Sometimes we have to disassemble it and fix the manufacturing problems. That's one of the problems we're having with quality control worldwide right now. So this is what it should look like, and this is what it should sound like when it's working properly. Watch this. The key goes in, and it goes in nice and smoothly. Okay? Here's the customer key. You got to kind of move it around to move it in. Then when you turn it, you should be able to turn it like this, and there should be no notchy feeling, no catchy feeling to it. And I'm going to put this up close so you can hear it. See how much quieter that is? Now in comparison to the customer lock. So if you're hearing a lot of noise like this and you're feeling a little catching in the key, I would recommend you send this in for overhaul now. There will be no more parts available, and in a couple years we might even have a hard time getting tumblers, because when we rebuild these for you, we install a new refurbished tumbler from the manufacturer. We have to take each tumbler and test them and fix them. So hopefully if you send one in to us, we can send it back so it's working like this. See? This is kind of a milestone day for us. We're going to go ahead and open this up and fix it for the customer and probably send it back to him tomorrow. We just received it yesterday afternoon. And I'm going to begin today working on some other videos, particularly how to get the steering lock assembly out of the steering column when you can't turn the key, and how to get the ignition switch plug off the back end of your switch if you can't turn the key. Because if you can't do that, you can't get this out of the car, and you literally can't drive the car because you can't get the key to turn. So we all got together at Mercedessource and decided the best solution right now is for us to at least offer a rebuild service for those of you who are having problems starting to feel the key sticking. And as we move along, we'll go ahead and start adding other models as well. A couple hours ago, I took it back into the machine shop and Jerson went to town on it, completely disassembled it. Everything was cleaned and lubricated. The locking mechanism was removed and inspected. And of course, everything had to be thoroughly lubricated. Not only the lock and pin assembly here, but the tumbler was properly lubricated, and then a new tumbler with 2 new keys was installed. So let's see how it sounds now. If you recall earlier, it was kind of a noisy lock. Well, listen now. You just watch the key go in. It just slides right in. No catching and sticking as the key went in. And then as you turn it, there's no pressure. No need to twist. You just lightly turn the key. Now it's a very quiet movement, just like that. So thank you, Richard. If you're watching this video, we appreciate your confidence and your business. We're going to include a free gift for you since you were the very first customer to use our steering lock rebuilding service. You'll get a Bunt Cake alloy wheel keychain. So we'll be shipping this off to you tomorrow, and we know you're going to really enjoy your key and lock assembly now.